Peace and welcome to the Temple of Hip Hop. I am KRS-ONE. This is another exciting session. Happy New Year, first of all. Happy New Year. And is it a coincidence that this Sunday that we're talking on happens to be January 1st? Today is the day I live by each verse. Temptation defeating temptation by putting God first. Hold up. Let me get my deal together here. Hold up. Hold up. Here you go. Here you go. Today is the day I live by each verse. Temptation is defeated by trusting God first. The way of hip hop is always self-creation. With faith and will, you can change your situation. The only way to know hip hop like no one else is to know that you are hip hop, your higher self. Today, I will separate my wants from my needs and visualize my needs coming to me with speed. Today, I know that I can only achieve the peace and prosperity I am ready to receive. My heart is pure in all my endeavors. My heart can be weighed against the weight of a feather. Today we thank our bodies for lasting and give it love and rest by fasting. That's what I'm talking about. Welcome to the Temple of Hip Hop. The Temple of Hip Hop is a hip hop preservation ministry, archive, school, and society. We've been practicing, actually learning of hip hop like this for like the past 2 years. We've been reading our gospel of hip hop from front to back cover. We're almost done. Today we're going to finish up our read of the 17th Overstanding. We're going to finish up our read of that. But actually before we get into that, really, let me run through a few things. I just saw some notes here. You know, just before we get into the read, I usually go through some notes. This is also for others that may still be coming in to the call. But let me go through some of these notes just before we actually start our read here, finishing up the 17th Overstanding. You know, we've waited for a moment with this. This is about, you know, we pushed off like 2 or 3 temple calls because I was on tour, obviously, you know, throughout Europe and England, and I waited until I got back home, back to the base, where I'm able to grab my notes. I'm relaxed right now, and now we can go into these stages. It's still a short read because we're at the end of this particular chapter, and we're going into a new chapter, actually going into a new overstanding, I should say, for the new year. Just on that note as well, I was going to end the Gospel of Hip Hop's read with with the new year. Actually, I was thinking of yesterday. I was going to end it yesterday by reading everything and putting it up and having it just there for you to read at your leisure. But I snapped out of it and said, no, what we're going to do is continue our read on schedule. As we are learning in real time, this is how we're going to continue our read. So, we end our 17th chapter on today, New Year's Day, January 1st, actually. We're ending our chapter. We'll get into that as well. I also want to talk about December 32nd, which was the last 12 hours of yesterday, from 12 noon yesterday to 12 midnight yesterday was December 32nd. I want to read you a little bit of that as well. Those who were in their gospel did see that and most likely practiced it as well. I had a great time, boiled up the lentil soup, and thought about the rest of the year, how wonderful it's actually going to be. We're doing trademark logos. I mentioned this last week. trademark logos, and Desire One. I did get your trademark logo. That was dope. Using 1520, the front building as the logo itself. I think there's room for that somewhere there, but I'm looking for more mythological. I'm looking for something more memorable, a logo-ish kind of deal. We can discuss that as well. I'm probably going to have some sort of a conference call or something. We're going to change the structure of the temple as well as we go into 2023. The times for the calls are going to change as well. A few other things as well, but some of our meetings, the times for the meetings, the days for the meetings. We have to set up certain committees as well, groups of us who are going to, if you're serious about, say, the exhibits that we're putting together for the 50th anniversary, or the films that we're putting together for the 50th anniversary. These are going to be groups of people who are going to have to work on this year, and have that ready for August 11th, 2023. But I mentioned that just to say that, first of all, let me just go back a little bit. Desire, that was dope. Thank you. Please send us something else, or more, I should say. I'm looking at the letters themselves, coming up with letters that say 1500 Sedgwick Avenue. Also, we're looking at something that just says 1520 Community Center. 1520 Community Center, not Sedgwick Avenue. We need both, as a matter of fact. But again, like I said, I could talk to you about this and other artists that want to be a part of this as well. We will soon have contact information for how we can all be organized in that way as well. There's also something to be said about the upcoming tour we're getting ready to ride out on. We're actually trying to plan that right now. I'll get back to that as well. But right now we're doing trademark logos for 1520 Sedgwick Avenue in the Bronx. I mentioned this last week, whereas we're looking to solidify 1520 Sedgwick Avenue. As those you should know, that we manage the community center part of the building. We're putting an exhibit there. We're also the go-to people for organization when anything anybody wants to do with 1520 Sedgwick Avenue Community Center, they go through us in that sense. We've declared the Temple of Hip Hop's address, 1520 Sedgwick Avenue in the Bronx. We're actually going to put a phone number in there and a website, not a website, somebody at a computer who can facilitate Temple of Hip Hop information right there at 1520 Sedgwick. This is part of the job creation that we want to do with the tenants at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue there in the Bronx. Many of them have computer skills. Some don't even mind answering telephone for customer service and so on. All of that is going to be needed with an exhibit on their first floor in the community center. Like I said, the exhibit is by RSVP, by reservation only. So somebody has to organize that. 20 people groups, 30 people groups, however we work it out, and somebody's guiding you through, walking you through. Somebody has to walk you through, guide you through. We need at least 3 to 5 hosts per day to walk people through the exhibit and answer questions and so on and so on. So all of this is being organized with not only the people in the building, but the people in the neighborhood as well. And it's part of that job creation as well. We got work to do this year, 2023, Hip Hop's 50th. We got work to do. So that trademark logo is part of that work, getting that done. So the 1520 has a logo for T-shirts, for letterhead, for whatever it needs it for. This is what that is. And I had mentioned last week as well that there is money involved if your piece is chosen as well, because this needs to be purchased. 1520 has to own the logo itself. So you got to be clear with that going in. Sometime around the 15th of January, I'm going to be taking a meeting with Mr. John Crotty, who's the owner of 1520, the building owner of 1520 Sedgwick. We're going to get together and talk about construction and what needs to happen, the lighting, the flooring, the walls, paint, this kind of thing, what's going to happen. I just mentioned that as part of our ongoing development of the exhibit. Just FYI, somewhere after the 16th, 17th, we're going to be having that meeting. And around the same time as well, 16th, 17th, maybe even the 18th, we're going to be doing new interviews as well. We did some interviews with the tenants of 1520, the key tenants of 1520, along with Pebbly Pooh. Shout out to you, Pebbly Pooh. And some others as well. We did some interviews right there at 1520 as well, but we're going to do them again on green screen so that we have more control. We had those first set of interviews. We're going to do it again and get this green screen set of interviews so we can control the background and so on, and probably use some sort of combination of both of them in our presentation on August 11th, or for, I should say, August 11th. Those that would like to sign up for RSVP and other info regarding the Hip Hop 50 Years exhibit, you go to hiphop50years at gmail.com. That's hiphop 50 years at gmail.com. Hiphop 50 years at gmail.com. And you can sign up to RSVP. Right now, we're just taking names and email addresses for the RSVP. And of course, when other information comes up, we'll definitely be letting you know that as well. Right around the same time, that 15th, 16th, 17th, 16th, 17th, 18th area, we're also going to meet with the Tats crew. Tats crew, when we was in the Bronx last time, we all took a meeting with the Tats crew, who is willing to do a whole host of paintings with us. But what was most important is that hip hop, like with most cultures, the memorable moments of the culture was never photographed or remembered in any significant way. We want to correct that with hip hop's culture, and create magnificent art, portrait art of some of the seminal moments in hip hop's culture that they are remembered. So we went to the Tats crew, which I consider some of the best graffiti artists in the world, if not the best graffiti artists in the world. I think Nice would probably go along with that one, and Bio. But at the end of the day, these guys I know can pull it off. And what are they pulling off? Like, for instance, Kool Herc's, August 11th, 1973, when Cindy throws her back to school jam and Kool Herc is the DJ. There's no photographs of that day, of that actual day. And whatever is left has now been auctioned off. So we now have to create a scene, an artistic scene that becomes the classic scene based on information, based on real, the real building, the real room, the real Kool Herc, the real Cindy, testimony from those who were there, and create that in art. We have to do that. So we have about 50 of those that have to get done. And so Tats crew is leading the way with the creation of these intricate pieces that are going down not only as aesthetic history, meaning you look at it, you're amazed, wow, but also it tells the story, it records the story as to how hip-hop came into being and developed itself, because now there's other pictures as well. In addition to pre-hip-hop, other artists are tackling the pre-hip-hop eras. There were Native Americans. There were whole nations, where what is now called the Bronx. There were whole nations here. And it's no coincidence that hip-hop would begin off the edge of a riverbank. And I'm even looking, I'm still doing the research, but I'm even looking to see if that riverbank right where 1520 and 1600 is at, was that ever a place for powwows? Because powwows were huge back when Native American nations, indigenous nations, were actually in the Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn area, Yonkers, all of that area. Powwows were prevalent, and they were prevalent in certain places. I wonder if 1520 and 1600 is one of those places. Got to get back to City Hall, got to see the early notes, got to talk to somebody, a book, something has to have that answer. But it's this kind of information that we're also digging up for the 1520 exhibit, their Hip Hop 50 Years exhibit. This is what we're also digging up to also show. So, so, oh, and of course the website is coming. I'm actually looking, myself and Isaac, my son, we were talking about ways in which to put that website together and make it more efficient. It's not ready yet now. We was waiting actually for the new year, but we've been working on it from back, 2022 as well. So, and also, he got some help from his brother Chris overseas. So they're working, Chris and Isaac doing that thing in terms of the creation of the website, which will be the lifesaver for a lot of folks that are not going to be able to make it to the actual 1520 Sedgwick Avenue location when it actually opens. You can go to the website and see some kind of presentation as to, or celebration as to what's going on, from wherever you are. The website will become important in that way. So those were the announcements. There are others, but they're not important to mention now. Those were the actual announcements. Turn your gospel now to 695, paragraph 233. 695, page 695. Well, actually, wait a minute. Hold up. Let me make sure. No, first, no, that's our read. First, go to page 386. Come on now. Page 386. I want to read this first. Page 386. Okay. And 386, and we are we're at paragraph 15. We're at paragraph 15 on page 386. I want to read this because yesterday was December 32nd. And for those that are new to this concept, let me hit you with this right now. I'm on page 386 of the original Gospel of Hip Hop, and I am on paragraph 15. Paragraph 13 and 14 was highlighted too, by the way. Those are highlighted paragraphs. But here now, paragraph 15. Finally, December 32nd begins at 12 noon on December 31st. On the last day of the year, we give ourselves a half day, devoting the last 12 hours of the 31st day to spiritual atonement as a 32nd day. On this day, we drink only water-based soups and water. We forgive others and ourselves, accepting in faith the mercy and patience of the Great Spirit. This is important right here. On this day, we drink only water-based soups and water. That could be chicken noodle soup. It doesn't have to be vegetarian either. Chicken noodle soup, any kind of water-based soup. I'm doing, or I did, I still have more left over. I did the lentil soup. Lentil soup, I love lentil soup, a good lentil soup, split pea as well. These are mostly water-based soups. You cook them with water. You boil them into a creamy soup, if you even want that consistency. But vegetable soup is good. Like I said, lentil, tomato soup, onion soup, and any of these. And it also flushes things out too. if you know you're eating a lot of good stuff, you eat the good stuff, give yourself a 12-hour day. If you missed yesterday, just give yourself a 12-hour day at any given moment within the week. You can wait to the end as well. I speak about that a little later on. But here's this. On this day, we drink only water-based soups and water. We're trying to obviously cleanse out on this day. We forgive others and ourselves, a different kind of cleansing. And notice the two, there's a different kind of cleansing. It's water and water-based soups. But then it's also forgiveness. Forgiveness of both yourself and others. We forgive others and ourselves, accepting in faith the mercy and patience of the Great Spirit, accepting in faith. At the end of this, of your reading of the Gospel of Hip Hop, your faith should be higher. Your faith should be way higher. Your strength and your belief and your love for yourself and in yourself should be much higher. You've learned something. Don't squander the time, waste the time just listening to the voice of KRS-ONE. No, you've learned something. You've been through something. You've committed to something, and you're now seeing the mountaintop. You're almost there at the peak of your understanding of hip-hop. You went through something. Don't squander it. On this day, we drink water and only water-based soups and water. We forgive others and ourselves, accepting in faith the mercy and patience of the Great Spirit. And we call upon the Great Spirit for mercy and for strength, or what we say for that GPS, that guidance, protection, and strength. We call upon the Great Spirit, the Great Protective Spirit, that GPS. The Great Spirit is also the name the Native American Aboriginal culture also gave to the Great Spirit, to cosmic consciousness, to that which we call God. So we call upon the Great Spirit at the end of the year, of this solar year, 365-day year, and some change actually, 364 and some change. We actually thank God. We thank the Great Spirit for however many days we get. We thank the Great Spirit for that. We thank the Great Spirit for that which wakes us up in the morning, for that which keeps our hearts beating, for the air that's in the air, freely floating, oxygen in the air, able for me to speak right now and breathe and have consciousness right now. So you ever think about if something happened in the earth and all the air left? I mean, do you really, everything just stops. All life on earth just stops. I thank God for every breath. And we try to do something conscious and constructive with every breath that we take, because it really is a gift. And you don't understand it's a gift until it's gone. Until it's gone or it's scarce. So we thank the Great Spirit for that mercy, for that grace. On this day, we are reborn in spirit. We are reborn in spirit. Do you realize the power you're getting right now? You are reborn in spirit. You're starting with a fresh slate. We observe the advice of the overstandings and we prepare for the new year. This is specific to the Temple of Hip Hop. If you have received these freestyles after December 31st, this is what I was talking about, that I'll get back to. Then use the last day of whatever month you are already in to give yourself a half day for spiritual atonement. For example, January 32nd, February 30th, March 32nd, etc. The 365 rhymes, affirmations of the freestyles serve as guidance for the truly committed hip-hopper. As you begin your practice, you will begin to notice how the freestyles will seem to speak directly to the happenings of your day. The more often that this occurs, the more in harmony you are becoming with your hip-hop spiritual lifestyle. This is also a reason why I said I'm just going to go ahead and read the gospel on schedule. It doesn't matter where it's going to end or land when it does end. I'm just going to read it straight through. And also, when I looked ahead into that, this reads into February, reads really to the end of January going into February. And it's February, this Black History Month. And that last section, the origins of hip hop, is discussing that right there, discussing history. We already went over this in November. We're going to go over it in a more in-depth style here from the gospel's perspective. What is history? We're going to go over this again. But it comes up on February. So this idea of reading in time, we're going to go ahead and let that happen. But I just want to confirm here that as you begin your practice, you will begin to notice how the freestyles will seem to speak directly to the happenings of your day. The more often that this occurs, the more in harmony you're becoming with your hip-hop spiritual lifestyle. These affirmations, the 365 rhymes, help you to live hip-hop. However, the most important thing a hip-hopper can do to hasten the productive results of her hip-hop spiritual practice is to not deviate from the practice itself. Once you are fully aware of what is required of you, it is then time to live it. Getting adjusted to the ways of a new life is always difficult. However, if you continue to press onward, such a new life will eventually become an old habitual one. In this case, you are seeking to make and or strengthen hip-hop as your lifestyle. You want health, love, awareness, and wealth to be the regular habit in your life. That's what we're here for. You want results from your spiritual reality. Ultimately, you desire to walk with God. All of this and more is achievable if you remain committed to your discipline training. Now, that's what I wanted to read real quick at the beginning of the year. At the beginning of the year. Happy New Year. Be recharged. Be reborn. Be reinstated in your vision and in your title. We're going to talk now about titles and about respect for titles and living up to your title. You know, now we can go to page 695, beginning at paragraph 233, though. We're going to redo the last two paragraphs. 695, go right over to page 695. Yep. And I'm going to start on paragraph 233. But this is the point about titles and about respect for your title and for others and for the title of others. If someone says that they are something, hold them to it. You know, often we complain about corruption in a whole bunch of areas of life. But when we see corruption, we don't correct it. In fact, corruption benefits some of us, so we just let it ride. The only time corruption becomes a problem is when you're not benefiting from it. So you got to ask yourself, you know, really, what kind of person am I that I benefit from corruption, yet at the same time I want to stamp out corruption. I want things to operate fairly. And it's a philosophical question because, you know, don't get guilty giving up inspirational living towards yourself. Don't get guilty about it, but it's a philosophical question that tests your character. I'll give you an example. I was getting off the Queen Mary just a week or so ago. Came right into the United States by way of Brooklyn. Got off on the Queen Mary. Long line for immigration. Long line for immigration. But not for me. Of course, our family, we are diamond members on these ships. We've been going on these ships so long. We're at the highest status on the ship. So, and on top of that, we know all the security, the border patrol, the captain of the docks, Everybody. So just before we get off the ship, Simone calls the captain of the dock, say, yo, we getting off the ship, grab our bags. Violation right there. He ain't supposed to be doing none of that. But he does it, he grabs our bags, we get off the ship. He's right there, the dock, this is the captain of the dock. He's there, escorts us with our baggage to the front of the line, the immigration line. We get there, they halt the line, we go right through, stamp the passport, welcome to the United States, KRS, no doubt. Take our stuff, boom, family, we all go right outside, my van waiting right outside for me. I had it sent over. We go there in some space where no other person's van is supposed to be. My van is sitting right there, curbside pickup, so on. Now, I say this as an example. There must have been 5 or 6 violations going through. But I'm not a threat, neither is my family. We had nothing illegal on us, and we're not criminals. In addition to that, we were an elite. We had an elite status on this ship. So all of it was being used to the extreme, I should say. And so, but when I look, I said to Time, I was saying, I see, this is corruption. We're supposed to wait on the end of that line like everybody else. But because of who you are, what you know, you get to walk to the front of the line. Is it right? Is it right? Of course, I pondered that question as my feet walked right to the front of the line. And I got my passport stamped, and I went, I did not want to wait in that line. No, I did not. That line was 40 minutes. I didn't want to wait 40 minutes. My dude right there was like, nah, KRS, let's go. And I took full advantage of the corruption. When the corruption works for you, it's cool. But all the other people, some people was on the boat with us, they were shocked. Because on the boat, everybody's, oh, yes, We get off the boat, now we in the real world. How you really treated. Get on the line. Get to the back of the line. I'm floating through like King Chris. We're floating through. People looking, hey, how you? Ha, hi, ha. But now you got to ask yourself, how often are you going to take advantage of corruption? How often do you do it? Do you sometimes wait and say, no, I will wait on this line? Or whatever. I won't take this advantage because I feel that taking advantage is corruption. Or the soul that wants to take advantage and break the rules or bend the rules, really. That soul, leads to corruption, or could. I thought about that. Am I corrupt for wanting to get to the front of the immigration line? And my whole crew is the immigration line. The police officers, all of them, okay? This way, sir. What do? Now, here's the flip side to it. Before I got too guilty, like I said, I'm a diamond member. They got, gold, platinum, diamond status. So I'm this diamond member there. Now, you do get special privilege as a diamond member. Yes, you do. Then on top of that, we were already told for years as well, yo, when you come through, give me a ring. You ain't got to stand here. I did wait online for 4 years, though. My first 4 or 5 years, I did wait online. We sat there in immigration like everybody else and did our thing. It was like those last 6 or 7 years. Dudes refused to have me stand on the line and start pulling us out and showing us the corruption. So now I take a look at it, I say, but wait, is it corruption if this is your status? if this is your title, if this is how people expect to treat you in society, is it corruption or is it really a social status? Is it really respect? Nobody was breaking any laws by moving me ahead. This is obviously a philosophical question, but it's still, that's what we're here for, to question our character. And I questioned mine on that, and it brought me to this lesson of titles. Brought me to the lesson of of your title and the respect that it garners. I'll tell you one more story before we get to the read. Years ago, like about 2003, I thought I needed a reverend's license, a minister's license. And so I started going around to certain ministers and certain theological schools asking, how can I achieve a minister's license? And meaning that a license where I can marry people, a state-ordained license where you can marry people, it's looked at by the state, or you could go into jails, you can act as counsel, legal counsel for people, and this kind of thing. So I was looking for this minister's license, and I was heavily into the church at that time. I just came out of a mentorship with Riverside Church. I was doing Union Seminary School. We was doing all types of theological work around this time. And so I ran into a guy named Dr. Horton, Reverend Dr. Horton, and he broke me in half. So he was one of the many people that I had met. So I'm meeting all of these. So some people are giving me the runaround. Some people are like, yeah, pay this and you can get this license. Others are like, join our church and slave for a year and you can have this license. So I'm running around. I meet this guy, Dr. Horton. And the first thing he asked me, he said, well, why do you think you need a license, a minister's license? Why do you think you need that? I said, well, so that I can go into prisons and teach. You know how the minister goes into a prison and he gets a certain status. He said, but a man of God would already have that status. I said, oh. He said, well, what else? I said, well, I want to be able to counsel other people to the government or to businesses or so on without actually being their attorney. He said, again, a man of God is already doing that. You don't need a degree to simply do the work. And as our conversation flourished on and broadened out, I began to realize everything that I want this degree for, all you got to do is be recognized by the community as that guy. You don't need the paper, you need the work. You need the reputation, not the degree. And of course, as the years rolled on, he was right. In different areas of my life and at different times in my life, he proved everything that he said. That's how I remember his name, Dr. Horton. And I remember him saying, specifically with the prison situation, I said, look, I want to be able to walk into the prison and I don't need to be searched. I don't need to be none. I just need to be able to teach my brother. He said, but a man of God can do that. Walk right in. Lo and behold, found myself at Folsom Prison. Folsom is somewhere. Forgot what it was in Atlanta. Found myself in an Atlanta State Prison. Walked right in. COs. Yo, that's KRS. Oh, yo. Autograph, pictures, bits, all types of shit buzzing. I'm going through. Walked onto the yard. Sat down. I was going there to meet somebody, a friend, a favor for a friend of a favor. got me in there to go talk to somebody about his relationship with his moms and all of this craziness. But I was there on the yard talking to this dude. The whole yard bugging. Straight, yo, I don't believe, yo, this is so crazy. Oh, shit. They bugging. I spoke to my dude, got back, walked out, got in the car. And when I got back in the car, I thought about it. And Horton's voice came up. He said, right, man of God don't need none of that. They already know who you are. They already see what it is. And it's not about celebrity. Because again, if it's just celebrity, they still got to put you through. They still got to do the protocol and all of that. Nope. This was not about no protocol. This was gates were opening. Just gates were opening. That's it. And I just walked freely through this prison like as if it was my living room. And then Horton's head came up in my head and said, see? And there was, of course, many other incidences like this where you walk with a title. And this is what I'm saying is that you don't have to always say your title to be your title. And most times, the person with the title doesn't even have to say their title. Other people say what your title is. The teacher, the minister, an attuned hip-hopper, a true hip-hopper. People should be calling you this, and you realize your title. You so hardcore with it, that others can see that this is what it is. And you don't need this outside validation. It's an inward validation. Your reputation, what you putting out is what you're getting back. So we start here with title. And because that's what we're reading about the stages of the temple of hip hop, the stages, the actual stages to our intellectual and educational development. These are degrees, but they are conscious degrees. They're intellectual degrees. You'll notice that these stages as well, although one is linked to the other one, you do grow into each stage. You'll notice that you are always these stages. You are always these stages. Like it starts with Rap Fan and ends with the Teacher. And we'll talk about everything in between that. You're always the Rap Fan and you're always the Teacher. When you really come to understand and master this list, you'll see that at times you should throw off, like you should be true hip-hopper in this instance. In this instance, you should be hip-hop cultural specialist. In this instance, you need to be the Rap Fan. You'll notice that each one is a character within hip-hop itself. Now, of course, these are stages, and the Temple of Hip Hop awards these stages with certifications as well. During 2023, we're going to be getting those certifications together. Some of you have already received the True Hip Hopper certification when you attended the Hip Hop Appreciation Week of 2022, May of 2022. You received your True Hip Hopper certification. And if you remember correctly, everyone who finishes the Gospel of Hip Hop gets their True Hip Hopper certification. But because you came out to the May 2022 Hip Hop Appreciation Week, you received your True Hip Hopper certification early. And I said to you, when you got it, that you have to live up to this True Hip Hopper certification. You have to live up to it. You got it early. That gives you a double burden. Unlike others who will now receive their True Hip Hopper certification, because we're going to get to the end of this book as well. You've already received. You should be living up to it as well, living up to that standard. So turn now to page 695, and I'm going to start with paragraph 233. Paragraph 233 should be highlighted. If it's not already, it should be highlighted. All right, here's 233. And just this paragraph is highlighted, but here it goes. Let us unite around the timeless principles of peace, love, unity, and joy. We are indeed living at one of the greatest times in human history. And to be aware of such a time causes one to be alert and virtuous. Alert and virtuous. Preparing our people for the inevitable shift in earth consciousness is the sacred work of our temple for hip hop. That was highlighted. That's an important statement to make in terms of also understanding what the mission is and what we are all about. If this path is for you, you are welcomed into the temple of hip hop. Your training has already begun. The following is a list of your training stages, of our training stages that represent the learning levels of our committed members. Take a moment now and review the following list to determine which stage is comfortable for you to begin with. So don't think that you just have to start with Rap Fan because it's number one. You should, in terms of this teaching, in terms of your learning and then the teaching of this to others, they are stages, and I'll show you how one links into the other one. But remember, like I said before, once you have them all in your psyche, you then should just say to yourself, no, I'm really at the first level. No, I'm really the teacher. No, I'm really an attuned hip hopper. You have to say to yourself what your general character is. And then you'll probably pick up the office of that character throughout your study of hip hop after this point. Let's start. Rap fan. A rap fan is anyone who enjoys or respects rap music. Rap fans are only interested in watching or listening to rap music, even though they may call it hip hop. To the rap fan, hip hop is music. Rap fans are culturally and spiritually blind, deaf, and dumb. We say that respectfully. Let me say that again. Rap fans are culturally and spiritually blind, deaf, and dumb to true hip hop. And notice the spelling on true hip hop. Hip hop as consciousness. The deeper spiritual lessons and overstandings of the temple of hip hop are incomprehensible to rap fans and can cause them unnecessary suffering. And of course, with most people who teach advanced knowledge, and again, please take this the right way. We're not bragging. We're not putting ourselves above anybody here. This is not speaking in terms of elitism and all of that. But seriously, what we are teaching here, if you have not gone through the full process that has led you to this point, to the end of our teachings, to the end of our book, you don't just go around splurting this knowledge out to anybody who hasn't gone through the process. It can hurt them to hear a little bit of truth, and they run out to try to deal with that little bit of truth, thinking they can do something and wind up hurting themselves, wind up psychologically damaging themselves because of a little bit of truth. We don't want that. We want to help people with the knowledge by which we've gained and the knowledge by which we have. You want it to help. So you have to know respectfully a person's level of mentality before you start telling them stuff, telling them what hip hop is, how it is, what it is. No, first, let's start with who's your favorite rapper? Let's start right there. Who's your favorite rapper? Oh, it's Busta Rhymes. Oh, did you hear Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See? What you think about that beat? You know, that's the rap fan conversation to have, and I'll show you where this conversation leads, okay? Um, this is now the second paragraph, and these paragraphs are in Roman numerals, by the way. Maybe I'll get back to that later. We'll see. However, it is the rap fan who has financed the rap music industry through the sales of music and other entertainment products. Basically, rap fans just enjoy rap music. Nevertheless, to truly be nevertheless, to truly be a knowledgeable teacher of hip hop's cultural evolution, it is helpful to have been an average fan of rap music for some part of your life. And remember that if you're not a fan of rap music, understanding hip hop will be difficult. However, having hip hop's spiritual side is the fundamental difference between an attuned hip hopper and a rap fan. Many rap fans, although greatly appreciated, lack knowledge as to what causes hip hop. They simply buy rap music product and imitate it or teach it as hip hop's culture. They do not truly live an authentic, productive hip hop lifestyle, so hip hop's cultural, spiritual wisdom, the knowledge of what causes hip hop, is foreign and in most cases useless to them. Keep in mind that the term rap fan can also be applied to rap artists with lengthy entertainment contracts. Many well known rap artists, executives, professors, ministers, and editors of magazines and so on are really rap fans, imitating and or admiring the skill, mastery, and cultural mentalities of true hip hoppers. And that's the truth. A lot of dudes are imitating what they see, and that's what we're calling, oh, he's hip hop, she's hip hop. But in actuality, they're really not. And I say this respectfully. I'm not saying, anything more than what I'm saying. They're not really authentically hip hop. They're watching hip hop and imitating it. And that's what we're seeing as hip hop. Some of us, though, are authentically hip hop. We wake up in the morning rhyming. We got to dance. Graph books stay on our mind. DJ, you always listening for that beat. This is you have to do it. You have to be it. And for those of us that are that, hip hop's culture, living the culture is no problem for us. This is what it is. But there are some people who are torn between hip hop culture and the culture they were born into, their traditional family culture. They haven't found a way to synthesize the two or give up one for the other. They haven't found peace with it. Let me read further with it. Keep in mind that the term rap fan can also be applied to rap artists with lengthy entertainment contracts. I read this already. Many well-known rap artists, executives, professors, ministers, and editors are really rap fans imitating and or admiring the skill, mastery, and cultural mentalities of true hip-hoppers. It was new music technology and the need for various corporations to exploit hip-hop that gave rap fans the ability to imitate what the true hip-hopper experienced. Technology gave everyone the ability to imitate. That was and still is the difference between watching hip hop, learning hip hop, and actually being hip hop. When you are naturally and effortlessly hip hop, you instinctively feel the need to express hip hop beyond entertainment and money making exclusively. You simply care for the development of yourself as hip hop. You simply care about hip hop because you respect yourself. There is no separation between you and hip hop. Hip hop is your lifestyle, and you cannot sell your lifestyle, nor should you contradict your cultural principles. In light of this, hip hop can be considered an unalienable right of all hip hoppers. On the other hand, those rap fans who watch and or listen to hip hop also live other lifestyles. This is what I was talking about. So the exploitation of hip hop's culture, principles, and elements is a natural behavior toward the benefit of whatever lifestyle or culture they really live and pledge their allegiance to. The rap fan admires and imitates the effects of the true hip hop mentality and and remains confined only to the elements that have survived over the years. However, the attuned hip hopper, having knowledge of hip hop's history, meaning, purpose, and original causes, can apply the original hip hop awareness or spiritual sight to any subject or object in the world, thus expanding one's range of creative freedom. The attuned hip hopper further expands hip hop, while the rap fan merely imitates the hip hop elements already created. When the demand for such a hip hop element fades, so does the career of the rap fan. But the attuned hip hopper, for example, can apply the hip hop sight or awareness to empty soda cans and create a new career out of that. Remember, hip hop is not exclusively music, it is an awareness that can be applied to any subject or object. It is a transformative power. That's how we practice hip hop here, as a transformative power. With little or no awareness of hip hop's cultural or spiritual purpose, even if one thinks he is doing hip hop a service by performing hip hop's elements, he is not. In fact, he cannot. Rap fans are offered the hip hop declaration of peace. Now, this brings us back to that part where I say, here at the beginning, we say that, I'm going back to paragraph 1. The deeper spiritual lessons and overstandings of the temple of hip hop are incomprehensible to rap fans and can cause them unnecessary suffering. Okay? That's why we offer rap fans only the hip hop declaration of peace. That's the calling card. Hip hop declaration of peace. That may be too much, but if you could swallow that, we can then bring you to this next level. You don't just hand a rap fan the gospel of hip hop, unless of course you think they can handle it, but most of the time you hand a rap fan a book on hip hop, they're only interested in the autograph that may be in it by the author. They're not going to sit down and read the book and adopt its principles. They're just happy to have the book the way they're happy to have a CD or something like that. Maybe down the line they'll crack a page, maybe they'll get interested, who knows. But as long as a person remains in the consciousness of just enjoying rap music, the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace is just fine for them. A one-page document that just outlines 18 principles for hip hop's unity, for how hip hop can come and stay together and even further develop. So rap fans are offered the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace. Now notice the mechanics here. Next line, or the next stage, is the hip hopper. Spelled capital H-I-P-H-O-P-P-A. We also spell hip hopper capital H-I-P space or dash capital H-O-P-P-E-R. We respect that hip hopper or hip hopper. We spell it as hip hopper. Because again, just so you know, we went over this earlier, that these are new words in the English language. So, and the reason being that as well is because as we build our culture, we are building our language, we're building our dialect. This is what also makes you a culture, that you have a distinct dialect, you have a distinct way of, a distinct and unique way of describing yourself and the world. So in this context, we spell hip hopper like this, the same way we spell, breaking, MCing, cutting, mixing, scratching, without the G. Those are not slang words, or that you should put the hyphen next to the N because it's missing the G. No, these are new words. These are our hip hop words. Chillin' is our hip hop word. Dope, fly, fresh. Yes, these words mean other things in the English language, but in our hip hop dialect, these words have completely different meanings, and you should know them in order to navigate yourself through the hip hop world. Here we are here with hip hopper. A hip hopper is an individual participating in hip hop's culture. That's it. A citizen of the hip hop nation. That's why the rap fan is given the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace. That's the beginning of the hip hop nation. You get that document, at least you got 18 principles laid down right there. There's a little history on it. You can tell them the history, this, that, and the other. But that's what you get. If you can swallow that and you can see hip hop in this form, then as a hip hopper, you're an individual participating in hip hop's culture. You are a citizen of the hip hop nation with that hip hop declaration of peace. Hip hop has sensed the deeper essence of hip hop beyond rap music. So notice now, as a hip hopper, armed with the hip hop declaration of peace, you've gone from being a rap fan to now being a hip hopper. Hip hop has sensed the deeper essence of hip hop beyond rap music. Hip hoppers may also know a variety of spiritual truths, but they still have not matured to the level of actually living them. See, this is a little bit about the hip hopper. You know a little bit of spiritual truth, but you're not living it yet. You're not serious about your spiritual life yet. Most younger hip hoppers are still in search of their purpose, and this is right and normal. Hip hoppers search for organizations, discussions, and products that focus upon hip hop as a culture and way of life. Hip hoppers also instinctively feel the need to acknowledge all of hip hop's elements, not just those elements that are profitable or popular. Hip hoppers feel hip hop and have begun the practice of one or more of hip hop's 9 elements. Hip hoppers are offered the gospel of hip hop. So once this, if you notice, if you read the hip hopper, this is the criterion. This is what that person looks like as a character that's to be offered the gospel of hip hop. They're just at the threshold of truth. They're not ready to live it yet, but they're familiar with some of the spiritual truths that are actually out there. They're in search of their purpose. And they're looking for organizations, discussions, other products, and so on that exemplify the hip-hop lifestyle. They're looking for hip-hop. They're looking for themselves in the world. Hip-hoppers feel hip-hop and have begun the practice of one or more of hip-hop's 9 elements. You'll notice a hip-hopper, because they're practicing, they either MC, graffiti writer, DJ, beatboxer, something, fashion designer, something related to the culture. They're looking to make their way by way of hip hop's culture, and they're attracted to one of these 9 elements. That's a hip hopper. Hip hoppers are offered the gospel of hip hop. This is your first stage right here. Temple member. A temple member is a hip hopper that has begun a serious study into the overstandings of the gospel of hip hop. So notice at the end, hip hoppers are offered the gospel of hip hop. That makes you now a temple member. Because what? A temple member is a hip hopper that has begun a serious study into the overstandings of the gospel of hip hop. That's why you joined the temple of hip hop, to get this gospel explained to you. This is why you're with the temple of hip hop, because once the gospel is explained, you understand why we exist. We exist to preserve hip hop. We all talking about it, but who's going to actually do the work to keep the continuity of original hip hop in the world? Who's going to do the work? Now, I hope we all saying, yes, I'm willing to do the work. But some institution somewhere has to actually manifest itself with authority, with cultural integrity, with the skill. Somebody got to rise up and make sure that happens. That's why we're here. We hope others rise as well and bring their resources to the table of hip-hop's preservation. But right now, it's us, the temple of hip-hop. And we believe that to preserve hip-hop, you got to preserve hip-hoppers. So that's our angle. Our angle is to preserve hip-hoppers. But there's other ways to preserve hip-hop as well. And everybody got to bring their resource and their idea to that hip-hop preservation table. Our resource and idea is spiritual and cultural knowledge. That's our source. We're bringing that to the table. And we're preserving hip hop by preserving hip hoppers with a sound spiritual knowledge related to hip hop. This is where we at right now. The next paragraph, Roman numeral 1 and 2, is highlight. We're talking about temple member right now. Here we go. Temple members are hip hoppers who have joined the temple of hip hop by taking the vow, I am hip hop, and by abiding by the principles of the gospel of hip hop. When we say I am hip hop, we become that which we say we want hip hop to become. Therefore, we preserve hip hop by becoming hip hop and then preserving ourselves. Did you get that last part? We preserve hip hop by becoming hip hop and then preserving ourselves. This is the Temple of Hip Hop strategy for the preservation of hip hop. Highlight paragraphs 1 and 2 under temple member. That's important. Reading forward now. Those who are willing to become hip hop for the sake of preserving hip hop take the vow, I am hip hop. Such a person is no longer just doing hip hop's elements, such a person is hip hop itself. And this gospel of hip hop lays out the character and powers of a successfully lived hip hop life. Temple members support each other and the Temple of Hip Hop in its campaign to preserve, promote, and protect hip hop's culture, elements, and expressions. We're highlighting this. This is number 5, Roman numeral 5. Highlight paragraph 5. Temple members are personally preparing for spiritual victory over the obstacles and traps of urban life, the streets. The seriously committed temple member has embarked upon a rigorous course of self-improvement leading to personal reinvention. It is at this level of understanding that we realize ourselves to be role models and we pay close attention to how we look and act in society. That whole thing is highlighted. This is the piece right here. The seriously committed temple member has embarked upon a rigorous course of self-improvement leading to personal reinvention. That's why we could never criticize each other in our development process. We should never hold grudges against each other in our development process. We should care for one another and respect one another. We're all going to fall and stumble and need to get back up. The popular statement, I ain't no role model, is simply not a choice for the committed temple members, for committed temple members. Many people deny the fact that they are a role model because of their own shortcomings in life, which diminish their own sense of self-worth. Temple members are working to cleanse themselves of such inadequacies, and it is through mentoring, caring, and the giving of oneself that is at the essence of one's cleansing. Did you get that? Did you get that? Okay? Mentoring, caring, and the giving of oneself is at the essence of one's cleansing. Temple members have realized that everyone is a role model because every object in nature affects every other object in nature. Every object and or event in nature appears to the human mind as a symbol. Everything means something to us. As an object in nature, you are a symbol to other people as to what reality is and what is even possible. Temple members know that everything in nature is a symbol to the observer, that every physical thing in nature affects every other physical thing in nature, so to assume that you are not a role model is to deny your own influence upon nature and upon other people. Such an assumption confines you to your own limited thinking. But this may be a good thing in the long run because those who do not lead productive lives silence themselves for the good of the whole. Even though an unproductive or dangerous life is still a role to be modeled, those who live such lives are right to deny their own influence upon everyone and everything else. It is at this stage that we, temple members, begin the perfection of our outward appearance and artistic activities. Look at this. At this stage, the the temple member seeks to perfect one or more of hip hop's 9 elements. Private assignment, study the gospel of hip hop. This part right here is very important. At this stage, the temple member seeks to perfect one or more of hip hop's 9 elements. Now, I want to bring you back over to the hip hopper. In the hip hopper, the last paragraph here, number 3, it says hip hoppers feel hip hop and have begun the practice of one or more of hip hop's 9 elements. As a hip hopper, you begin your practice of one of these 9 elements, one or more of these 9 elements. You begin that. Then you become a temple member. You start studying your gospel of hip hop. At the end of your temple member orientation, at this stage, the temple member seeks to perfect one or more of hip hop's 9 elements. Private assignment, study the gospel of hip hop. True hip hopper. A true hip hopper is a temple member. See the connect? A true hip hopper is a temple member who is studied in the overstandings of the gospel of hip hop. So when we get to the end of this book, that's when you get the true hip hopper certification. Some of you have already gotten the true hip hopper certification and are being asked to live up to it because we're not finished with the book itself. When we finish reading our gospel to the end and the test has been given, true hip hop certification will then be real for those that already have it, and those who've passed the test will actually get their true hip hop certification. So understand what this is right here. A true hip hopper is a temple member who is studied in the overstandings of the gospel of hip hop. That's what makes you a true hip hopper. You've studied your gospel now. You're on your way to perfecting one or more of hip hop's 9 elements. You're raising your self-worth and your value. True hip hoppers are called true because when necessary, they are capable of putting the protection and development of hip hop before their individual wants, acts, and ideas. They are willing to make sacrifices for hip hop's preservation and expansion. It is here that the templist begins learning the way of self-sacrifice and takes on the last name of one, or One, pronounced as One, meaning God expressed or expressed truth, signifying victory over nearly everyone and or everything. For all true hip-hoppers that belong to the cultural family of hip-hop, One, as a cultural last name, helps other temple members identify each other. The use of the one, or One, also symbolizes the oneness of being single. One also symbolizes the awareness of being single-minded in your spiritual perceptions. The one, as a last name, means that you are practicing seeing the physical world beyond dualities. There is no more this and that, them and me, name and nature, past and future. All is one. You and hip hop are one event. The use of the one as a last name in speaking or in writing is not mandatory. However, it does show one's level of conscious awareness and of one's selfless commitment to the unity of hip hop's culture. The true hip hopper has also chosen a specific hip hop icon to begin a scholarly study of. And in addition to studying the icon pioneer of one's choice, it is always helpful to study the life, legacy, and teachings of KRS-ONE. Stop here for a minute, because this is a two-piece right here. The true hip hopper has also chosen a specific hip hop icon pioneer to begin a scholarly study of. This is also raising your self-worth. You should choose out of the entire hip-hop pantheon someone to become an expert on, that you will become an expert on. I personally would like to become an expert on Grandmaster Flash. I also would like to become an expert on Herc as well. But specifically, Grandmaster Flash, I'd like to become an expert on him, to be able to discuss everything about Grandmaster Flash in that sense. Maybe even write his book in that sense. That's for me. Okay? You guys should pick either the same person or somebody else that you become an expert on. This is also going to raise your teaching value, that when you come to the table, you can discuss the life of somebody that either people know or don't know. I don't know if everybody's up on Nice and Smooth or Ed O.G. and the Bulldogs or DOS Effects or any of our friends. I don't know if anybody's really up on them like that. I don't know if anybody's up on Flavor Flav in particular from Public Enemy, not just Chuck D and the whole crew, but Flavor Flav, to become an expert on Flavor Flav, get into his life, get into his ups, his downs, his victories, his this, his that, and really become an expert. That's important for a hip hop teacher. In fact, what will separate the Temple of Hip Hop's teachers from others is this factor right here, that each of us will be an expert on somebody memorable, and groups as well. Expert on Run DMC, an expert on the Fearless Four, an expert on Wu-Tang, an expert on this one or that one, so on. So just get that first part. I want you to get that first part down, which is at this level, as a true hip hopper, you should be picking some icon to become an expert at. Now, the next part of that is, and in addition to studying the icon pioneer of one's choice, it is always helpful to study the life, legacy, and teachings of KRS-One. Now, of course, that's easy because I'm here with you. And it's also easy because if you roll with me, like you come out on tours, you come to the lectures, or so on, you can ask me straight up questions right there. And I could give you straight up answers right there. And that's the point. The point of the matter is that I'm an easy target. Not only have you read the Gospel of Hip Hop with me, and you might have some inner insight, things I may have said, implied, read in a certain way, things, it's been a couple of years we've been reading our book. So you may have some insight right now. Just reading the Gospel of Hip Hop with me almost makes you an expert. I say almost because, you got to get my birthday down, who's my mother, my brother, sister, my wife, children, my career, the stories behind the movements. You got to do your homework and become an expert on KRS-One. But it's always helpful as a Temple member to use me as your expert, your icon figure, your pioneering figure. It's always good to use me because I'm here. And I'm here to answer your questions, and I'm here. So you got two, but always remember that you should know something about your teacher anyway, which will make you an expert more than a lot of people. Just to know a few of my stats, what I'm about, and so on. You should have some knowledge, biographical knowledge, statistical knowledge of your teacher anyway, in that sense. But like I said to you, we all need to find an icon to study and become an expert on. That not only progresses the icon or the pioneer's legacy, his or herself, but it raises your value because you're able to discuss another pioneering figure. This is how it's done. This is how teachers get their money. This is how it happens, and even raise their worth, which money is included in that. But raise your value. You want people to be calling you for something. You want people to be impressed with your scholarship. So you want to pick an icon that when you say, I'm an expert on ... these people say, oh, wow, that I really want it. What do you mean an expert? You pull out some tantalizing fact and gets you $3,500 for that lecture. Gets you 35,000 for the election. Keep your mouth running. This is what it is. It raises your value to become an expert on somebody. You should be doing that as a true hip hopper. That's the true hip hopper certification after you have read the full gospel of hip hop. Private assignment. Practice the gospel of hip hop and choose a hip hop icon pioneer to begin studying. We went over that. But notice, practice the gospel of hip hop. Notice how hip hopper was study the gospel of hip hop. True hip hopper is practice the gospel of hip hop. Templist. A templist is a true hip hopper. A templist is a true hip hopper who is seriously committed and faithfully dedicated to the development of the temple of hip hop. So after the True Hip Hopper Award, you become a templist. Also called temple representatives. Those that were with us, have been with us for maybe more than 10 years. You remember back in the days, we used to have temple reps. We used to have a dude, people, a variety of people. We had people in Miami. We had reps in Washington, New York, Philadelphia, all parts of California, Arizona, and so on. Temple reps. We since then have gotten away from these temple reps because we weren't organized. We're now getting organized because we're reading through our entire gospel. And it is from this batch of students and apprentices that we will now begin our temple representation with. We're a lot more organized. We're a lot more knowledgeable now of our temple, of our mission. And so now with the completion of you reading the gospel of hip hop, now we can draw out of that, out of that apprenticeship, our temple representatives. Also called temple representatives, templists are involved in the business of the temple of hip hop, its administration and legal affairs, as well as the promotion of the temple of hip hop's ideas and image in world history. Templists are concerned with the internal organization of the temple of hip hop. Templists are also activists. They plan hip hop conferences, uprisings, protests, cultural summits, social programs, spiritual and cultural workshops, and private meetings. As temple representatives, some templists commit to representing whole cities on behalf of hip hop's proper presentation and preservation. Working mostly behind the scenes, templists assist in the proper presentation of hip hop's artistic elements and intellectual worldview, even if the templist has no professional or personal allegiances to the hip hop person and or event being assisted. This is important. Templists consider hip hop itself to be their responsibility. The templist seeks to freely assist hip hop's many artists, often without those artists even knowing. Templists work privately and quietly, often receiving no recognition or even appreciation for their services. A templist acts on behalf of God, not on behalf of her own worldly interests. Private assignment, self-sacrifice, self-restraint, charity, loyalty, and teamwork. As you can see, this is a higher level of membership. We need self-sacrifice, self-restraint, charity, loyalty, and teamwork if you're going to work in the business with the Temple of Hip Hop. If you're going to be dealing with logistics and the Temple of Hip Hop, you can't be out of control with your wants and needs. Your emotions have to be in check. Your doubts and fears and guilt's got to be put aside. Hopefully, by the time you got to this stage, you've worked that out of you. Excuse me, you've worked that out of you. Excuse me, 1 minute. Yes. I need a microphone so I can say 1, 2, yeah. Well, actually, I just did it. So, in order to have self sacrifice, self restraint, charity, loyalty, and teamwork, we got to get to this level. We got to get to this level. And that's what the template is, someone who can be trusted. Imagine you're in another city. We're in another city. You have to be trusted. You got to know you're working with a team, and you got to be loyal to that team like we are loyal to you. This is the support base. So what happens after the template? What level of, once you have self-sacrifice, you've proven your self-sacrifice, you become the attuned hip-hopper. An attuned hip-hopper is a template who has overcome the values of the world and has regulated the passions of the physical body. Attuned hip-hoppers are sensitive to the divine meaning and purpose of hip-hop. They live in harmony with the oneness of God's actual presence. They have made the decision to live by and actualize the gospel of hip-hop. Righteousness has become a habit for the attuned hip-hopper, and such a habit has opened the kingdom of heaven for that hip-hopper. Such a hip-hopper is called attuned because her mind has become uninstitutionalized. Did you get that? The reason you're called attuned is because your mind is uninstitutionalized. She is free. Such a hip-hopper becomes content with being hip-hop. Such a hip-hopper has found peace. For with an uninstitutionalized mind, the hip-hopper knows not what she can't do. For when your mind is free from being told what its limits are, you achieve great works because you don't know what you can't do. You can lift. You can lift great weights and endure immense hardships when you don't know what is heavy or difficult. In addition, when you are uninstitutionalized in your thinking, you unite with the mind of God and the cycles of nature. Your very movement through time and space match the movements of heaven and earth. At this level of mind, your worldly activities shall unconsciously match the happenings of physical reality in mathematical ways that are not only seen and proven years later by future historians, scientists, looking back upon your time, but such a habitual attitude towards life also places the attuned hip-hopper in a state of supernatural harmony with her surrounding environment. This is so real. At the temple of hip-hop, attuned and spiritually mature hip-hoppers are aware of the truth that the outer self is a projection of the inner self. And a hip-hopper's inner thoughts cannot be cut off from the total existence of that hip-hopper's outer lifestyle and environment. Attuned hip-hoppers know that outer circumstances are shaped by inner thinking. As we gradually transform our thinking, we gradually transform our environments. It is here at this stage of spiritual development that the attuned hip-hopper realizes the power of the mind. It is here that the attuned hip-hopper realizes that whatever the mind creates, the mind must maintain. Let's underline this. Let's highlight paragraph 8, Roman numeral 8. Yes, yes, yes. Go ahead and do 8 and 9. Roman numeral 8 and 9, right under it. 8 is V with the 3 eyes, and well, wait a minute. Yeah, okay, right. And the IX is 9. 1 before 9. I'm sorry, 1 before 10. Well, let's highlight 8 and 9. And let me read this to you. This is very important right here. This is very important right here because you see the stages in spiritual development, in educational and intellectual development, in cultural development, as well as in you see the stages in in one's title, in what you are calling yourself. Are you living up to this title? Here's what we're highlighting. It is here that the attuned hip hopper realizes that whatever the mind creates, the mind must maintain. In other words, whatever your hands create, your hands will maintain. If you create something with your hands, it will have to be maintained by your hand skills. The same can be applied to your tongue. Whatever you create with your words, you will have to maintain in the physical world with your words. Word creations are sustained by words. Hand creations are sustained by hands. And mind creations are maintained by mind. Underline, highlight all of that. Therefore, attuned hip hoppers monitor the activities of their own hands, minds, and mouths in an effort to bring order, peace, and prosperity to the circumstances of their own lives. This is a practice of the attuned hip hopper. Such hip hoppers have also perfected their chosen hip hop element. At this stage, you've perfected your element now. Private assignment. Begin a career in the hip hop element you have perfected. So notice how we don't even suggest that you start your career until you become an attuned hip hopper. And you've been working on this from the time you've entered your temple of hip hop. Now you are a hip hop cultural specialist. What is a hip hop cultural specialist? A hip hop cultural specialist is an attuned hip hopper who is certified by the temple of hip hop to teach hip hop publicly. So notice how none of the other stages, educational stages, required a certification. They have certifications, but they don't require them. A lot of them have to do with your own personal character and what you're giving off. The hip hop cultural specialist specifically has to be certified. Cultural specialists are authorized by the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace to, quote, interpret and answer sensitive cultural questions regarding the principles and proper presentations of hip hop's elements and culture relative to businesses, individuals, organizations, communities, cities, as well as other countries, end quote. It takes at least 5 years of continuously engaging hip hop, and hip hop, the three spellings of hip hop, to become a hip hop cultural specialist. Some do it in few years, but in truth, you never really end your education as a hip hop cultural specialist. The Temple of Hip Hop ordains its cultural specialists in 4 stages, degrees. 1. Mastery of one or more of hip hop's artistic elements, as well as an understanding of hip hop's 9 elements, is the first degree. So you've mastered your element and you have an understanding of the others. Production of useful works and ideas known historically and enjoyed regularly by the hip hop community is the second degree, which means that, look at this, production of useful works and ideas known historically. They only have to be known to the temple of hip hop because we're writing hip hop's history. So when you do something, when you create a productive work, you should register it with the temple of hip hop because now it's in hip hop's history for real. Production of useful works and ideas known historically and enjoyed regularly by the hip hop community, which means they really only need to be enjoyed by hip hopia, not the whole hip hop community. If your ideas or your invention, your music, something you've done, our community enjoys it and likes it and appreciates it, this gives you your second degree. All of hip hop does not have to like what you did and so on. We're talking about the community that we have created. Evidence of at least 3 years of paying dues, meaning contributing to hip hop in meaningful ways without being compensated for it, is the third degree. That doesn't mean paying Temple of Hip Hop membership dues. This means that we have seen and have documented, or someone has seen and has documented with evidence, that you selflessly gave up something. You are continuously giving this service on behalf of hip hop and not being compensated for. And it's clear that it's on behalf of hip hop. Look, evidence of at least 3 years of paying dues, meaning contributing to hip hop, not to anybody in hip hop, but contributing to hip hop in meaningful ways without being compensated for it. This is the third degree. Finally, the receiving of certain honors, awards, credentials, letters of appreciation, and or validations from within the hip hop community itself, from its pioneers and founders, from its authentic cultural organizations, from its talented artists, is indeed the fourth and final degree in becoming a hip hop cultural specialist, a true hip hop scholar. Of course, like I said, the community we're talking about is the community we have created. But of course, if you get letters and any of these accolades from anybody with respect in the whole of the hip hop community, and that includes people from other countries as well. Somebody got big respect in Africa, took a liking to you, and said, no, I'm going to give you this certification because what you just said did for us, whatever. We bring that to the temple. We may actually respect that and use that as part of your certification to be a hip hop cultural specialist. Private assignment. Take your time studying and teaching all you can about the nature, history, meaning, and purpose of hip hop. So to become a hip hop cultural specialist, your private assignment is that you're taking your time studying and teaching all you can about the nature, history, meaning, and purpose of hip hop. That's a hip hop cultural specialist. That's your assignment. Minister, spelled M-I-N-I-S-T-A. New word in English language. Minister. A minister is a server. A minister is a server, a hip-hop cultural specialist. What is a minister? A hip-hop cultural specialist who has achieved the H-law. Now look at this. What is a minister? A hip-hop cultural specialist. What is a hip-hop cultural specialist? An attuned hip-hopper. So what is a minister? Really an attuned hip-hopper. Once you become the attuned hip-hopper, you have a choice to become a hip-hop cultural specialist or the minister. They're really both the same thing, but they have two different offices. But here's the minister. A minister is a server. Somebody willing to serve. A hip-hop cultural specialist who has achieved the H-law. A hip-hop minister is different from a traditional minister. Ministers teach universal law, which includes life coaching and spiritual advice relevant to the hip-hop community and its experiences in the world. Attuned ministers for hip-hop serve the temple of hip-hop in its charity and social work. And even though hip-hop's ministers have achieved the H-law, which includes wealth, and can also teach street entrepreneurialism, such ministers still do not handle money or seek to make deals. Hip-hop's attuned ministers are given what they need by God. We are supported by the respect of the hip-hop community for our spiritual, intellectual, and artistic skills. Ministers are focused upon teaching, revealing, and inspiring the hip-hop community spiritually. They are the living examples of what they teach. They embody the spiritual vision of the temple of hip-hop. A minister is a live person, full of energy. A minister is a real person, a true person, a genuine person. Ministers lead simple lives, great in love, great in life, and great in God's work. You know what? Let me get that door open there. It's getting hot. I'm getting hot in here. And I just want to live this part right here. A minister is a live person, full of energy, A minister is a real person, a true person, a genuine person. Ministers lead simple lives, great in love, great in life, and great in God's work. But remember this, the ministers who teach the great truths of godly character must impersonate such truths themselves. When the truth that one knows becomes the truth that one does, one can be called minister. For when you fully and truly realize that hip hop is the name of your activity in the world, you shall wake up and take more responsibility for how hip hop culture, you, is perceived in the world, beginning with the way in which you personally think, speak, and act regarding yourself, your community, and your future as hip hop. This realization causes one to become a minister for hip hop. It's this realization. Here now, let's highlight this next paragraph right here. We're gonna highlight this next paragraph right here. Matter of fact, you know what? Hold on, let me get this towel. Hold on. Yes, indeed. Highlight this right quick. This is 6, paragraph Roman numeral 6. For it is not skill mastery or even the selling of millions of recordings, books, etc. that preserves and further develops hip-hop culture. In truth, it is the individual thinking patterns and habits of ordinary hip-hoppers that allow poverty or prosperity, peace or disorder to affect the collective development of hip-hop culture. The hip-hop minister is the preservation of hip-hop. Private assignment. Attract support for the Temple of Hip Hop while freely teaching his principles to all interested apprentices. That's the minister. Attracting support for the Temple of Hip Hop while freely teaching his principles to all interested apprentices. The teacher. A teacher is a highly skilled hip hop minister who has declared spiritual victory over the streets. A teacher lives and teaches hip-hop's spiritual, moral, and cultural lifestyle. A teacher has mastered 2 or more of hip-hop's artistic elements. Teachers are attuned hip-hoppers who have shown and proven their wisdom of spiritual living. We practice living free and unattached from the stresses and temptations of the world. A teacher's presence comforts and inspires many. Teachers tend to heal or enhance whatever they touch or come near. Never hateful, always compassionate and fair. Teachers bring out the higher qualities in people. Teachers help people to find and protect themselves, their purpose, their talents, and their goals. Teachers are not above their students, apprentices. Teachers are just like their students, apprentices. Let me hit you with that again. Teachers are not above their students, apprentices. Teachers are just like their students, apprentices. Teachers are the only qualified hip-hoppers authorized to establish official temples of hip-hop in their respective cities. A teacher is the leader or chief of hip-hop culture. All teachers are called the legal guardians, stepfathers, or stepmothers of hip-hop. Qualifications include an honorable reputation, 2 years of public speaking, with a minimum of 12 lectures on hip-hop, and or hip-hop. The publishing of an informative recording, film, or book on hip-hop, or hip-hop. And the actual attainment of peace and prosperity. Private assignment. Live and teach the gospel of hip-hop, as I am doing right now in your face. Yes, this is the face of peace and some prosperity. No, but a lot of prosperity. Health is wealth. Remember that. But yes, when it comes to the dollar, the money, God has been good to us this year and will be greater to us next year. If in fact you're reading your gospel, your health, your love, your awareness and your wealth should be going up or have already gone up. If not, you need to really get deeper into your sciences because we're living this and it's working. We're living it and it's working. We don't teach what we don't live. We teach only that which we live because I have to stand here and back this up. So I got to know that this works. I got to know it for myself first. And I know it works. I know that living this lifestyle has placed me in a position I can't even explain, really, to be honest with you. Can't even really explain it. But you see what it is. You see the work that we're doing. Don't just sit there and just hear my voice. Yeah, KRS talking again. No, hear what I'm saying because this is how easy opportunity just goes right by you. The guy talking on the screen looks normal, looks regular, looks like a regular guy to you, but no, it's really God. No, it's really your opportunity looking you square in the face, and you're just saying, well, it's not the face that I need to see, or I don't know, it doesn't, whatever it is blocking you. Don't let opportunity go by. Don't let it go by. Snatch your opportunities. Take advantage of the moments that you have in front of you. Take advantage of the air that you're breathing. It's such a blessing just to have your heart beat, just to have your air, just to have air, and if you're around clean drinking water, okay? These things, don't get so caught up in yourself that other things become the stresses on your life, a job, family matters, this, that, and the other. No, remember that if you don't drink a glass of water, you dehydrate and die. If you have a case of water, you're doing pretty good. Just remember that you have to breathe in order to argue. And no breath, no argument. So while you're arguing, be grateful that you even have the breath to even wage an argument against someone. And while you're using that breath, look at the words in which you're using with that sacred breath that you're taking in. It's this sensitivity in life that brings you to the kingdom of heaven, what we call the inner city, hip-hopia. This is what brings you there, this character. Not whether you speak English, French, Spanish, Dutch, German, it doesn't matter. What matters is your character, your intentions, what you see for yourself and you see for other people. This is the Temple of Hip Hop. I am KRS-ONE. This has been a wonderful read again, and we've gotten through our 17th overstanding. Next week, join me here again. Join me here again next week. We're not going to change the times yet. We're getting ready to change the times from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. From 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. We want to start broadcasting at 3 o'clock in that sense. But right now, for now at least, stay tuned. But for right now, we'll tune in next week, 12 o'clock for now. And I say that because I'll get off this, have a meeting, and we'll be on at 3 o'clock. But for now, it's 12 o'clock, and we'll be talking about the 18th overstanding, the origins of hip-hop. And next week as well, I'll bring up the tour as well. Nothing really is going on with the tour right now. Right now, G. Simone is putting the tour together. This is our California run. Like I said to you, I've been saying several times that I want to get out to Cali before the summertime. Same thing I did with Europe. Get out to Europe, rock these people, make your deals, talk to who you got to talk to before the summer. And the same thing with California. I want to get out there before the summer, rock some parties, talk to some people, gather some support before the summertime comes around. And so we're going to do that actually in March. And like I said, those that want to come out and be part of that, we're doing it a lot more organized this time around. Of course, we're getting better at this as well. And we're in the United States as well. So we got to get organized. I know there's some people who expressed that they wanted to come out on those dates as well. We got to get organized with that. Nothing much happening right now. Yes, there's some dates sprinkling in, trickling in, but nothing explosive happening right now. Next week we'll probably have something better, see what's going on with that. But we'll keep you abreast each week. Just know that we're looking to open that apprenticeship for those that did want to come. I have other dates, other places, but we're looking at this California run as the next apprenticeship run. Those that want to come out, gain that attuned hip hop certification as well, taking some of the education, what it takes to be on the road, this kind of thing. You know how it goes down. You may want to take a look at that as well. Slightly different process this time around because it is the United States. Slightly different process, but nothing that you can't handle. Same old situation. So that concludes our read for this week. I thank you again. Happy New Year. Happy, happy, happy New Year once again. I am KRS-One. This is the Temple of Hip Hop. I'll see you next week.